We're talking fats, and it all has to do with nitrates. We'll continue talking about nitrates and ways to build up nitrogen, nitrates, and nitric oxide. Super duper important anti-aging compound. We'll talk about that here after. I want to talk a little bit about fats. There's so much misunderstanding in the world of fats. How many of you guys heard about, now we're supposed to, saturated fats apparently are not that bad for you. Now they're telling you. Well, of course they're not that bad for you. They're important for you. They're telling you cholesterol. Oh, now the Dietary Guideline Advisory Council, a government-appointed body of medical geniuses, doctors, now tell you cholesterol's okay. You can eat cholesterol. Well, do we really need to wait for these self-proclaimed nabobs, authorities to tell us that what we can eat and what we can't eat? Common sense tells you, if you understand how the body works, your body's made up of cholesterol, it's made up of saturated fats. Common sense tells you need this stuff. Yesterday we talked about the lengths of fatty acids, how important the lengths are. You know how you hear this simplistic idea of low-fat diets. So what it doesn't take into account is that there's fats and there's fats. There's different kinds of fats. There's unsaturated fats, there's saturated fats, there's polyunsaturated fats, there's monounsaturated fats, there's short-chain fats, there's long-chain fats, there's medium-chain fats. When you say low fats, what are you talking about? The fact that there's different kinds of fats highlights the fundamental problem with the simplistic medical nutritional ideas that are promoted in our culture by medical authorities. Low fat. What does that mean? There's all kinds of different kinds of fats. So the typical dietitian or doctor dictum to go low fat doesn't take into account these different kinds of fats, and they all have important qualities. Yesterday we talked about these short chain fats. Butyric acid is one of the most important elements in all of biology, in all of biochemistry, in all of food chemistry. Butyric acid. This is where butter gets its name. Butter is a rich source of butyric acid. Butyric acid is a short chain fat, and it's ridiculously important for good health. Yesterday we said how butyric acid it's involved in the health of the large intestine. Butyric acid can actually be used by the cells of the large intestine to promote energy, to promote health. Butyric acid is produced in the large intestine by the activity of bacteria on fiber. The way to get your butyric acid levels where they need to be is eating it is important, and eating can be helpful. Talk about that here in a second. But most importantly, it's to keep your colon healthy with probiotics and fiber. The connection between probiotics and fiber, the relationship between probiotics and fiber shows itself up in butyric acid. Probiotics, bacteria in the large intestine, munch on fiber, digest fiber, and they emit butyric acid. The butyric acid is a kind of gassy substance. It's a volatile fatty acid, they call it. And it mists itself out into the cells of the large intestine and creates health. Thus the importance of making sure you're getting enough fiber. I grind my own fiber every morning just to make sure I'm getting fiber. Get yourself some seeds, sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, or I like flax seeds, chia seeds you can use, and get a coffee grinder and just put a little bit, a couple tablespoons maybe. Don't even count, it doesn't even really matter. Just pour some into your coffee grinder, some flax seeds or whatever seeds you're using, almonds, you could use nuts even, and just grind it up and put it in your smoothie. It'll bulk up your smoothie, it'll fill you up, and it'll be a great source of fiber. Get into your large intestine, bacteria will start to work on it, and you'll get enough butyric acid. And then, of course, you got to make sure you got enough bacteria. That means probiotics. That means the Biolumin Nightly Essence. I don't know if I've had one Bright Side episode. I don't know if we've done one show where we have not talked about the importance of the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Now, of course, you can use any probiotics you want. I like the Biolumin Nightly Essence because it has the enzymes in it. It has digestive enzymes, and it has nattokinase. Nattokinase is a super important enzyme. So when you use the Biolumin Nightly Essence, you're going to get not just the bacteria, but you're going to get enzymes as well. Whatever kind of probiotics you want, make sure you're getting these good bacteria into your system. Fermented foods, miso, tempeh. Make your own fermented foods. Make your own sauerkraut. Make your own fermented beets, pickles. Anything you could do fermented plus fiber is going to improve the fatty acid, the short-chain fatty acid content of your intestines, and that is going to mean more butyric acid, and that is going to mean healthier cells. Do you know colon cancer is an epidemic? And a big part of colon cancer involves butyric acid or lack of butyric acid. And you know what else? When you have the wrong kinds of bacteria in the gut, not only do you not make butyric acid, but you make the wrong kinds of fats too. This is so important, and it may be one of the reasons why the less fiber we eat, the less bacteria we get, the more strategies we use that kill off the bacteria in our gut, the more inflammatory bowel disease we get, and the more colon cancer we get. You don't want colon cancer? Let me tell you, there's no good cancer, obviously. It's not a good thing. But if you're going to have cancer, you don't want it in your colon. You want a happy colon. Dr. Wallach has a commercial where he talks about that. Yes, you want a happy colon. Ask anybody who has irritable bowel disease or colon disease or, God forbid, colon cancer. You want a happy colon. And the best way to assure a happy colon is to make sure you're controlling what you eat. Now, you really want a happy colon, don't eat anything. Now, I know you have to eat, but fast. Take days off from food. And when you're eating, make sure you're eating fiber and make sure you're getting probiotics and good bacteria into your system. Biolumin Nightly Essence, veggies, veggie juices, grind your fiber. Of course, if you get your fiber from vegetables, then you're going to get the nitrate content. You guys, these are endless strategies for good health. Nobody has to suffer with chronic degenerative disease. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're taking your calls in our next segment. If you got questions about health or nutrition or prescription drugs, 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back after this. Thanks, God. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll get your calls here momentarily, and we're going to talk to Sonia Sattar at the bottom of the hour about her Modicize DVD. Sonia Sattar is a former actress and motivational speaker, I guess you could say, and she's figured out a way to combine motivation with exercise, and it's kind of cool stuff. Modicize. We'll talk to Sonia here in just a moment, and we'll get your calls here momentarily as well. I'm going to talk tomorrow about fiber, and a little bit about fiber. We'll continue talking about fats, and I know we're digressing here a lot, but there's so much good stuff to talk about. You know, we talk about fiber a lot, and when we talk about fiber, most people will think of what's called insoluble fiber, wires, if you will, the kind of wires that are in celery stalks, or hard fiber that's in seeds. But there's another kind of fiber. It's called soluble fiber. That's an invisible fiber. Invisible when you put it into liquid anyway. You put it into liquid, it just goes right into the liquid. And that's a little bit different. It has different characteristics than the insoluble kind of fiber. The insoluble kind of fiber is the kind of fiber that bacteria will react to or react upon to create butyric acid and other short-chain fatty acids. But there's actually a third kind of fiber that you don't hear people talking about a lot. It goes by the name resistant starch. Resistant starch is sort of like a soluble fiber. It's a type of starch that is indigestible, and it turns out that this resistant starch may play a role in the formation of these short-chain fatty acids in the large intestine. We'll talk about resistant starch and butyric acid and ketones, the ketogenic diet. That's related as well. And as it turns out, butyric acid is also involved in some of the benefits that are associated with intermittent fasting. We'll talk about that tomorrow, and on our next Bright Side episode, and then we'll continue talking about nitrates and some of the ways that you can build nitrates using amino acids. That'll be in the coming episodes on the Bright Side. Right now, time to hit our phones, 844-236-6010. Welcome, Rose. What's up, Rose?
Hi, Ben. I just wanted to let you know Stephen is going to have to go to see today, which we have to, we hate to have to do this, but we have to go and see a doctor. So he looks at his eye's kind of red. And so what I'll do is I'll call you back, okay?
Yeah, call me back, or send me, give me a shout. And I know I owe you a phone call. I've been meaning to call you. You're on my list here.
Okay, that I really need to hear. But I wanted to ask you, I had a concern. One thing, and not for today, because I know you're limited by time with this.
I am, and I got a bunch of calls I want to get to. So
okay,
see if
please let us in the future, like you did yesterday, different recipes that you follow, and it will make interesting the journey of us, trying to transition. And another thing, when it comes, this is the last thing, the plastic. We got something the other day, some kind of enzymes. And it had a plastic, and it troubles me because, like Whole Food and Trader Joe's, they have like the coconut oil. It comes in a clear.
It's like a plastic jar.
Well, Trader Joe's, I think, is it's glass, but it's not dark, and you know that.
But coconut oil is stable. It's one of the things you always want your oils in a dark jar or dark bottle. But coconut oil is less important. Rose, I'm going to let you go here. I want to get some calls, okay? And then call me later. Okay, I'll continue.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll answer your question, and then I'll take some more calls. You want your fats typically in a dark bottle. You want them in the refrigerator, and you want them fresh. Coconut oil, because it's stable, you can get away with it a little bit. But under ideal circumstances, probably it's a good idea to keep it in a dark bottle. And glass is always better than plastic. Plastic will leach, especially into oils. Of course, plastic's cheaper. It's cheaper to ship. It's cheaper to make. So most retailers and most manufacturers won't use glass. If you really want to do it right, you probably do want to use glass. That's a point well taken. Thanks so much for your call, Rose. Appreciate it. You know what? I just hung up. I apologize if I hung up on you, whoever I hung up on. Richard in Texas, what's going on? Real quick, buddy. I only got a couple of minutes for you.
Hi, Ben. Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you're aware of Dr. Jennifer Daniels. She is phenomenal, and her views on standard medicine and that sort of thing. I just want to throw her name out. But
is she an MD? What kind of doctor?
Yeah. She grew up in a ghetto. She financed her way very hardly through Harvard and all kinds of medical schools, got into the medical profession, and was so disappointed at the lack of healing that occurred. And she was prescribing nutritional things and off the chart for standard medical care type remedies.
I'm gonna. You know what? I appreciate you telling me that. I have not heard of her. I'm gonna be a little skeptical and suspicious. I'll take your word for it, and I'll do a little bit of research. But if she's got an MD after her name, I'm suspicious. Now, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep an open mind, though. I appreciate you bringing that up to me. And I do have one of her books, actually, Dr. Daniels. She's an African American gal, right?
Yes, she is, and she lost her license because of her practice. And
I remember. I did read it.
Now.
I did read some of her stuff, and I actually have an audio CD of hers or a radio interview of hers, actually. And I don't remember, for some reason I had a problem with it. I don't remember what it was. Let me look into that, and I'll have a comment on that in the next couple of days, because I do know who you're talking about. She went to Harvard, I believe, didn't she? She went to some Ivy League.
She did, and other schools, and she just got so frustrated. She could heal people, but she wasn't allowed. I
remember reading her, but she still was a doctor, as I recall, and she still was about medicine. But I'm going to keep an open mind on that because.
No, I think you'll find she's not about that any longer. She's living in Panama and practicing natural medicine down there, and I think you'd appreciate her very much. My question today, Ben.
I'm grateful for you bringing that up. Thank you. Go ahead, real quick, Richard. What's your question?
My question is about the magnesium stearate that's included in so many supplements. I take my supplements mostly out of the capsule into a smoothie. But, there's still magnesium stearate in there. And
let me ask you a question, Richard, because I know a lot about magnesium stearate. I've been formulating for many years, and magnesium stearate is a formulation aid. So I'm just curious, what is your take on it as a layperson? I assume you're not a medical person or a chemist or anything, but as a layperson, what is your take on magnesium stearate?
Well, I've heard good and bad things about it. I haven't researched it deeply, and I figured I'd just ask you to.
Well, off the top of your head, what do you think it is?
I am concerned that it's not good.
Okay. That's good enough. I was just curious. So magnesium stearate is magnesium with stearic acid. Stearic acid is a fatty acid. It's a long-chain fatty acid. It's a very stable fatty acid, and it's used in pills in the tableting process because it helps make tablets. And when you're making a pill, it's a complicated process. Believe it or not, it is very complex. It's a very complicated issue to make a tablet that dissolves at just the right rate, that contains just the right amount of medicine, that holds. It's in capsules as well because it's a flow agent. It helps in the encapsulation process. It helps the active material and all the other flow through the machines into the capsules. It's used in the processing of medicine, tablets and capsules, maybe even sometimes powdered stuff. It's not a problem, though. It's magnesium and it's stearate, and I'm not sure why people think it's a problem because all it is magnesium and stearic acid. Now, it's not a great thing to have a lot of stearic acid in a processed product, but it's not necessarily the end of the world, especially considering that you're getting such a tiny, tiny amount of it. There's a lot worse things to worry about, Richard. And in terms Yeah, in terms of its necessity, if you're going to get a tablet and capsule, and you're going to make a tablet and capsule, and you're going to get nutritional value out of or medicinal value out of a tablet and capsule, you got to have these flow agents and these binding agents and these things that allow you to have a tablet and capsule. And magnesium stearate is one of them, and there's a heck of a lot worse things than magnesium and stearic acid. Thanks for your call, Richard. Appreciate it. Thanks for bringing Dr. Daniels to my attention. I really appreciate it. Hey, Bruce, I'm going to see if I can get you in the beginning of our next segment, so hang tight. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're coming back with Sonia Satar right after this break. Don't go away. Okay, I am thrilled to have our next guest on. She's a former actress. I don't know if she's still an actress, but she was on The Guiding Light and One Life to Live. And now she does motivation. As you guys know, if you've been listening to this program for a while, it's not just a health program, it's a motivational program. I want to motivate you. I want to get things going. I want to get things moving. I got into motivational ideas and so-called self-help many years ago. I got depressed when I was in my late 20s. I started listening to motivational speakers and self-help. I started reading self-help and got myself involved in the culture of motivation and self-help, and it changed my life in such a dramatic way. I decided I wanted to dedicate my life to helping other people be motivated and understand how self-help works. So I'm really thrilled to bring my next guest on. As I say, she's a former actress, but now she's developed a program that combines exercise with motivation, which is really kind of a no-brainer when you think about it. But for some reason, nobody's ever really done it. And she does it in this really interesting and creative way, and I'm going to let her tell you all about it. Her name's Sonia Satar, I believe you say it. Sonia, are you there?
Satra, yeah.
Satra.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Sonia. I am well. Good to talk to you again. Moticize, I love it. I love the video, and I love the idea. And I don't know why anybody hasn't thought of it before. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? It's to combine self-help, visualization, affirmation, motivation with exercise. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what exactly Moticize is and how you came up with the concept.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, it's motivational exercise, and it's this one in particular, Mindset Reset, which is the first DVD, is a cardio interval program. But what makes it different is that integration of the mindset tools. You're guided through a whole process that includes visualization and goal setting and affirmation. So, in essence, it's kind of like having a life coach and a fitness trainer all in one.
Love it. So you consider yourself a life coach. I'm not even really sure what that means. Is that an official term? Is there like a certification?
It actually is an official, certified term now. Yes.
Okay.
I did a certification around it. It's a year-long program, and so you learn a whole series of tools that can help people dive deeper into their mind and body as well, because I like to use both to help them, see what's holding them back or what's getting in the way of moving forward.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert on this, but it seems to me like visualization and affirmation and goal setting and motivation and acting go together.
Actually, they do in many ways. So I think it is a natural progression of everything that I've ever learned. Because the visualization and the and goal setting, well, all of that, but especially visualization, I used as an actress to create characters.
Creation.
And all of the other stuff I got into just as you had said, self-help and all the rest of that to stay motivated, because as an actress, you're rejected a lot. You go on a lot of auditions that you don't get. And so just to stay up and to stay believing and to stay the course, I needed tools to really keep going and believe. And so I loved that. I was always super interested in it, and I had a life coach before anybody even knew what a life coach was. So
it seems like
I know that it's valuable.
It seems like what you're talking about, whether you're talking about acting or whether you're talking about getting in shape or being motivated, you're talking about consciously creating something, consciously creating your life. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Beautifully said. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's so important. We let life just happen, and we don't realize that we have an ability to be actually active and take an active role rather than a passive role in how our life shows up. Is that right?
It's so true, yes. I mean, sometimes you can't control what happens to you. Sometimes life does happen. However, you can always control how you think about it, or
Isn't that great?
what you do with it.
Your
And
response,
that's
you can.
where this part comes into play.
That's
because,
awesome.
Yeah, the same incident can happen to one person, and they could think it's a disaster, and the same thing can happen to someone else, and they can just turn it into fuel to go do something else that's incredible.
We don't realize we have an ability to respond to how our, like you say, life shows up. It just, whatever happens, but we have an ability to respond in different ways. And I think that's what you're doing here in where you take the bull by the horns in terms of shaping your life, your mental life, your emotional life, and your physical life via the exercise. So we have an ability to respond.
And I think it's also something, it's a skill. It's something that you get better at. You know, when stuff comes at you, especially in the beginning, it might take a little longer to transition. But once you start doing it and you start asking different questions and getting different answers, you'll do it faster, and you won't have that spiraling down, and then you not need to get yourself back up. You know, you'll just you'll maybe go down a teeny bit, and then you'll go back up again, and you'll stay at a more even place and excel. And I think that's the goal.
I love what. Is to excel. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I love what you just said, though.
To excel, because, and I go to questions because I love questions, because the brain is such an amazing thing, and it will answer whatever you ask it. So if you say, "Why is my life terrible?" it's going to come up with a reason for it.
Or if you say, "Why is my life great?" it'll come up with a reason for that too, won't it?
Why is my life great? Or how can I make it even more amazing?
Oh, I love it.
It's going to come up with great answers.
Yeah, it'll come up with answers.
Well, yeah.
Right. Isn't it interesting? No matter how sick we are, we're mostly healthy. No matter how sick we are, we're mostly healthy. No matter how poor we are, we're mostly rich. Right? No matter how anything we are, that's just because we're focusing on that we're asking the questions, like you say, what's wrong, instead of asking the question, what's right. And that plays a very important part in motivation. But does it play an important part in Motosize, asking the right questions like that?
It actually does, because Motosize is a series of questions. And so I guide people through a whole process. It will start with just opening your minds to, if you could live the life of your dreams in the next 24 hours, what would it look like? You know, and so just so you have that opportunity to be expansive, to imagine, because sometimes we forget to do that too. So it's like, oh, I can do that, and what if I wanted to do that? So it opens your mind to all possibilities, and then you're guided to make a choice. What's one goal? Because at the end of the day, your brain does work more effectively when you focus on one thing at a time. And so we'll choose one goal that you'll go through this whole exercise and process with, and we'll step into the future of what it's like to have already accomplished that goal. Because here's another cool fact, is that the brain doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real.
That's juicy.
So when you imagine it, it's actually like training your mind and your body for the real thing. Yeah. And that's what we want to practice. That's what athletes do all the time.
Sure.
They imagine exactly how they want it to go, so that your body will respond just like you've imagined. Well, we're training our minds and our bodies to do that with this one goal. Like, what's it like if you've already accomplished it? It's done. Yeah, you're not thinking about it. You're not dreading it. You've done it.
Yeah. From a biochemical perspective, it's not just your brain that believes it's true. Your biochemistry believes it's true. So you change your. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You change your. Go ahead. Say what you're.
You change your entire biochemical milieu. You changed all of the biochemistry in your body by thinking these things, for better or for worse, Sonia. I know we're talking a lot about motivation, not a lot about exercise, but that's really kind of what I love. So I want to hear something, who you like in terms of motivation, and then I want to get into some of the actual mechanics of Motosize. We'll do that when we come back from our break. We're talking to Sonia Satra about her program Motosize, and I think the website is motosize.com. We're coming back right after this. I'm Pharmacist Ben. And we're talking to Sonia Satra about Motosize. Sonia's website is motosize.com, and that's Motice. Motosize is an exercise concept that involves motivation and exercise, and I think it's really important because it kind of reintegrates the two very fundamental ideas that we separate out in our culture, and that's mind and body. But really, mind and body are integrated, and I think Sonia Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what you're doing, is you're reintegrating these two ideas that are really not separate at all, but somehow in our culture we artificially make a distinction between mind and body. Did I say that correctly? Do you buy into that?
I think you articulated that perfectly. It's so true, and it's unfortunate because the body has so much information. I always talk about body intelligence because often our mind gets clouded, and we think so many thoughts, and there's a lot of negative chatter going on, where actually if you just stop for a moment and ask, well, where is it in your body? Where do you feel that? What does that look like? And if it could speak, what would it say? And you'd be amazed at the answers that it has.
Yeah, our body's always talking to us. It's telling us what to do. Like when we eat something that's bad for us, if we listen to our body will be like, no, don't do that.
Yes, don't do
this.
Thing.
We all hear that.
Yeah.
We all hear that. We know we have a body wisdom, and we've been taught that our bodies are dumb, kind of, and that we need to have somebody else tell us. I always got a kick out of allergy testing. It's like we're so disassociated from our bodies. We go to somebody else to take our blood out, to put it in a dish, and then put the food in the dish. And we're like over here saying, what's in the dish, doc? What does the dish say? It's like we're separated from our bodies. So I want to ask you a couple questions about the science of Motosize, but just for curiosity's sake, who do you like in terms of motivational speakers? Who inspires you?
Well, I did start out with a Tony Robbins. I mean, I really was. It was. I know. I watched that late night infomercial many, many years ago. And
That's funny you said that, because
on that bandwagon, and I actually started coaching. That was my life coach. Was his head trainer, Joseph McClendon, who's also a phenomenal motivational speaker and coach in his own right, and does actually a lot of wonderful nutrition things as well. But he's really inspired me, not only as a motivational speaker and a coach, but he's given me so much, and also as a mentor and a friend, and so.
Oh, that's great. I have to tell you, Tony Robbins was the first guy I got into when I first got into. It's back in the late '80s. I actually met him in 1987. Before anybody even knew who he was, I read his book, Unlimited Power. Did you read Unlimited Power?
I've read them all. I've done all his programs.
He's awesome. I love that guy, and I love his work.
He really is.
Brilliant.
I know there are people that give him a bad rap.
I know there are. I know that. I don't care. He changed my life, and I always wanted to be like Tony Robbins when I first started. Probably you did too. I'm sure a lot of us did. We wanted to be like Tony Robbins. So tell us a little bit about the science of Motosize.
Well, what they found, and this is rather new the last couple of years, is that when they studied the brain, they used to think that once the neural pathways were created, that was it. And now they've found that when you exercise, that it actually is more plastic, and it can be changed. And one of the triggers to that is exercise. Once you exercise and you raise your heart rate for a period of time, a protein is released in your brain, and it actually creates new neural pathways. So it is an optimal time to think and to learn and to create and to focus. So it's harnessing that power to create the life of your dreams.
Well, isn't that interesting how exercise is a type of stress? And in our culture, we always hear about how bad stress is. You got to have stress out of your life. But what you're saying is you can actually reshape your neurons, reshape your bioelectrical or brain electrical energy with exercise or stress. The stress in that sense is actually can be used to our benefit, correct?
It can. It absolutely can. And they've done some really amazing studies with some schools. There's one in Chicago where they've revamped their entire phys ed program. All the kids walk around with heart monitors, and they have to run every day, and they integrate it throughout the day. And what they found, besides the fact that the obesity rate is almost non-existent in that school, also their test scores in science and math are some of the highest in the world.
Well, and that's inner city?
Really what triggered. What's that?
Is that an inner city school? An inner city,
it's outside the city. It's not in the heart of Chicago. It's on the outskirts of Chicago, but still, the highest in the world is pretty impressive. And that was part of what triggered some of these studies. And that's when they really started to learn that the brain is capable of being rewired, essentially.
That's awesome.
And exercise is a big way to get there. And they've used it with children who are ADD or ADHD, and their test scores improved about 400%. So it's quite amazing. It's not just the endorphins that you get. It's why you often, when you're exercising, you do think of really great ideas. That's an actual chemical, physical thing that's happening in your brain. And We want that, and we want to use that to create the life that you really want and to change the patterning and those thought processes and those questions in your life so that you can get what you want.
How cool would it be if we had Motosize in all the schools?
It would be really cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? That's awesome. Well, that should be one of your goals, to get kids to, because kids exercise, obviously. A lot of us exercise, but nobody's ever thought, Sonia, congratulations, nobody's ever thought to combine motivational ideas and affirmations with exercise, and it seems like a no-brainer, like all great ideas.
Well, I guess that's a good thing for me, right?
Yeah, it's a really good thing for you.
Right.
So how do listeners, let's say we've got a couple things. We only have a few more minutes here, but a couple things. A lot of my listeners, a lot of the folks who listen to The Bright Side are dealing with some kind of health challenge or know somebody who's dealing with a health challenge. So just pretend you're talking to somebody who's dealing with, say, an autoimmune disease, for example, or perhaps arthritis or, God forbid, cancer. How would you address them, and what would you tell them from a Motosize perspective, in just like maybe, I know it's hard to do, but maybe in 60 seconds or 30 seconds or so? How would you guide them through a process to allow them to leverage your ideas, to leverage the Motosize ideas?
I would say move as much as physically possible if you're able to. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to be doing jumping jacks. You can still walk or do some form of movement. And while you're doing that, think of what is it that you already have. What is it that you have? What is it that you want? And what is it that is stopping you from moving forward? And how, if that didn't exist, what's one thing that you would do today to make something else happen? Just one thing. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can be a tiny, tiny little thing. And then build on that. And what's one more thing you can do tomorrow? But it's great to come from a place of almost a blank slate or a positive slate. So you want to go through the process of what is it that you have? What's exciting in your life? What are you capable of from here? What is it that you want? And how can you, from this place, move forward?
And do it while you're moving your body.
And do it while you're moving. Even if it's just a small pacing. It can be, go at whatever pace you're capable of. You can do it while you're riding a bike. You can do it while you're swimming. You can do it while you're walking. But move, because the movement will activate the muscles, which will activate the neurons, which will activate the brain, and which will help you tap both that body and that mind and enlighten your spirit as well.
Can it be something like just taking a walk, or do you have to have a stress, like a resistance of some kind when you're doing the movement?
If you're capable of it, the more you can raise your heart rate to a place where you're being challenged, the better it is. But if that's not possible for you, any kind of movement is good.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So, yes, if you
Sonia,
yeah.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to.
I was just going to say, if you can, challenge yourself. Take yourself just that little bit further without going into a place of injuring yourself or taxing your body. Because if you have an autoimmune disease or something, you also want to be sensitive to doing that gently. You want to honor that part of your body at the same time you want to move forward.
Even the sick part of your body. Honor the sick part of your body, you're saying?
Yeah, you want to listen to what it has to say, and how can you talk to it? I would say talk to that part of your body. Where is it? What does it have to say? What does it need? And how can you work together as opposed to against each other?
You mean you can communicate with your body? You can have a dialogue, not just listen. You can actually
absolutely can. In fact, I do that with clients sometimes. It's great fun. Step into that. Step into your body, or step into that part of your body. Give it a personality. What does it have to say? Because it may have a really powerful message. And so, as you say it, as that person or a thing or body part, and then step back into you and respond.
That's
you might feel a little psychotic at first, but it is a very, very powerful exercise that can give you great information.
Sonia, we're out of time, but I know there's people out there who want to participate, who want to be involved somehow. Tell us what we can do. Go to the website, motosize.com, correct?
Yeah. Go to motosize.com, MOTICISE.com, and there's a free download for a guided visualization that I think would be really helpful for your audience, and also an ebook, a free ebook that they can use just to get started. And the DVD's available there and also on Amazon.com. And
Sonia, we're out of time. It's been awesome talking to you. Thank you so much, Sonia. Maybe we'll have you on again. I hope we can do that. Thank you, Sonia. That was Sonia Satra. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You've been listening.